Welcome back to the second part of our Newcastle podcast show. And of course, this time we'll be focusing all on the current affairs of Newcastle with potentially the takeover from Saudi Arabia and some other things as well. But also, just a reminder, if you're interested in taking a walk down memory lane, please listen to our part one and hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Okay, we are back now with the latest segment. And of course, as you all know, this whole week there's been this massive talk about Newcastle being taken over by a potential company or royalty from Saudi Arabia. Marco, I need to put you on the pedestal here. I mean, maybe you want to share with us a little bit info on who is actually this potential incoming investors that are keen to buy over Newcastle United.
Yeah, well, as much as we've been following the news since the takeover or the bid was announced, you have the names Yasser Al-Rumayyan of BC Capital Partners, or who's the governor of the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund, which belongs to the government of Saudi Arabia, along with Amanda Stavely, who's not, I suppose, alien to those who are familiar with the UK investments into the Middle East, because she's one of those who does a lot of work on that front, and also the Reuben brothers, So the word that we have is that, the things that we have been given, or the things that we've been reading, is that the PIF, as I've said earlier, which belongs to the Saudis, controlled by the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia. He will take 80% of the club, with Amanda Stavely's group, PCP Capital Partners owning 10%, and the Reuben brothers another 10%. So, it's definitely a huge buzz in world football when you consider their PIF group, being worth a staggering 260 billion pounds. This is not chump change. It's for you to be investing into a football club. So very interesting time, I would say, for any Geordie or any football, for any Newcastle fan worldwide. You never expect. I mean, that Mike Ashley has been trying to sell the club twice or three times now in the past, but never being able to get the buyer that he wanted at the value that he wanted. So, his prayers may have been answered, and it's not just his prayers, even the prayers of every Newcastle fan, wanting to see their club being sold to a very wealthy owner. It's potentially happening.
But Marco, just one thing about Mike Ashley wanting to sell this club, because Alan Shearer mentioned that until this thing is signed off, he's not going to buy anything yet, because he's telling you guys don't hold on to your horses first, because this Mike Ashley guy has got a potential of moving the goalpost at the last minute or something like that.
Yeah, well, I think if they can agree on normally they would have to agree on the valuation, but as much as we've read, the matter is at the hands of the league now, and for them to pass the fit and proper purposes test. So I think what I suppose Alan Shearer or even a lot of people are doing is they're just calming down everyone's anxieties. People are already, like I said, everybody is talking so much about the club that that people are associating a lot of players and a lot of coaches, going there. So I think it makes up for very interesting news, but until it happens, I think we will just have to wait and see. But like I said, if sources are to be true, and as they might, you are just waiting for the league actually to confirm the takeover, subject upon them to pass the to pass the ownership test, which is a fit and proper purposes test.
Yeah. And of course, with every takeover, the main focus will be on the hot seat, the manager's position. As we've seen when Roman Abramovich took over Chelsea, it affected Ranieri's position, and so did with Abu Dhabi taking over City. do you foresee, this could be the end of Steve Bruce's time, maybe the return of Rafa Benitez again, or perhaps, some big high-profile name that is available out there, most particularly Mauricio Pochettino, someone like that?
Agree as well.
Yeah, well, I think definitely you need Steve Bruce. I mean, this is my personal view. I think it's a bit radical for you to, upon assuming the club, you want to remove, the manager that is still in charge of, the games that they've yet to play to complete the season. So the last thing that you want to do is probably that, which is remove Steve Bruce. Now, I mean, I would say that Steve Bruce would. He's the kind of manager that is good in terms of stabilizing the club. Stabilizing any club for that matter. Not just because not just when he was given the task to take over from Benitez last year. He may be given the chance to finish off this season. Although I personally think that depending on what type or brand of football that the owners would impose for the club to play, that is how you sort of set your hunt for the kind of manager that is able to deliver that. The problem with Steve Bruce, I think, the thing about Newcastle today is that they have a very good offensive line. The three, Miguel Almiron, Alisson Maximin, Joelinton, they are actually very, very good investments at Newcastle. I mean, some fans may disagree, of their ability not to be able to score regularly and all that. I just think that they are not being used to their maximum potential, and they are being used badly, especially Joelinton, having coming from Hoffenheim with actually a very credible performance, that he did there. So yeah, I think Steve Bruce's fate at the end of the takeover is sort of given, that he may not be able to finish. He may not be able to see next season. So yeah, I think it's bound to happen that we will be getting a new manager come the next season. But again, who is the manager? As I've said, it depends on the brand of football that they want to bring in for the club. They have the players that they want at the moment. I think the director of football will just decide who is the best person that is able to nurture these players to play that football that they would like to see. Is it Benitez or is it Pochettino? Well, it depends also. I think definitely the fan favorite is Benitez, because he was able to deliver, the championship and take them back to promotion and deliver results, with very scarce resources, with very limited resources, and yet he was able to deliver, and he's definitely in the hearts and minds of a lot of fans. But, but there can also be other options. So for me, I would just stick with the universal discussion on this, which is it will probably end up with either Benitez or Pochettino, unless, there's a surprise that no one had predicted.
Okay. Right. Any question, Alvin?
No. So just for you, who would you choose, Pochettino or Benitez, Marco?
Wow, you guys always have the, okay. It's a tough one, for a fan. I think they would want Benitez back, because of the sentimental value that it brings to them. I think he was loved. I would recall him not getting any love from any segment of the fans. He was the most loved manager that in recent times that Newcastle's had. Like I said, he showed his brilliance by being able to deliver results in the limited resources that was imposed on him. There was no negotiation. He wasn't able to sign players that he wanted because there was a restriction on the budget. Yet he was able to deliver. So I think for a lot of fans, it's very sentimental, if they were able to get Benitez back. And it's probably the right thing to do, if you're a club owner and you want immediate fan endorsement, that you bring someone that the fans love, that the fans can relate to very well, rather than introducing a new or unknown quantity that at the end of the day, you never know, would bring mixed results or not the outcome that you had hoped for. So that would actually cost your relationship in the long run with them. But that's it. I don't think anybody would be not excited of the prospect of someone as good as Pochettino coming in to manage Newcastle, because we know that he's the kind of guy that can bring success to anything. I mean, we saw what he did with Southampton. That was unthinkable, for him to be doing that with them. I mean, I would remember him more with Southampton rather than Spurs, to be honest.
With very limited budgets, he still managed to make do. So imagine with an unlimited budget, right? Or at least.
Yeah. So if you ask me the question of which one do I prefer, to be honest, I'm quite torn, and I'm quite torn between the two. But I'm very excited. Either one is great for the club.
All right.
But I feel, I just feeling that it'll take at least for 2-3 cycles. I think to Newcastle, at least be the contender. What I mean, 2-3 cycles. I think we benchmark with Roma Abramovich. I think maybe initially started with the January, then it moved in with the what do you call that? After January was I can't recall, was it the Brazilian guy, the World Cup coach? I can't recall his name. So I think maybe it take maybe 2-3 cycles, I think, to get wherever Newcastle team might go.
But Marco, what's your take on, as being sports or all the other oppositions that are coming in with regards to this proposal, urging the Premier League to block this move? I mean, is it a very uncalled for? I mean, of course, we always try to put politics and football aside, but it seems like it's always going to be intertwined.
I think this is it's one of the most difficult questions for every fan to respond to. Because you talk about being sports, it's very straightforward. It's a commercial problem that they have because of the piracy in programming that's happening in the Middle East. So that's a given. I would say that's a valid argument, for them. But at the end of the day, I suppose it's not up to them. But when you talk about the human rights issues involving, with, for example, Saudi Arabia taking over a club like Newcastle, it brings in all kinds of issues and perspectives outside of football, especially their records on human rights. You talk about when Manchester City was being taken over by Abu Dhabi, with concerns over human rights as well. I mean, the volume of opposition is much louder in this one, in the Newcastle takeover, because I wouldn't mention specifically what incidences they are. But I think, is it fair for this to be imposed on the Newcastle fan? I mean, you talk about some of the fans in the UK, that grew up in Tyneside and all that, Newcastle. They were watching football as early as 5 or 6 years old. They're not, that's where they grew up. That's, they know the club as that, the club that they supported and they loved since they were children. And for you to tell them today that, this is probably a bad idea simply because, there's a concern over human rights, record, by the owner or the government that is taking over the club. I mean, it's unfair. I would say it's unfair to be imposing this on them. And I think if you have a look at the debate or the universal acceptance of the Saudi takeover of this club, it's celebrated now. I mean, you have people not agreeing. That's a given, because they don't like what Saudi is doing in terms of sports washing. Basically using football to detract from their from the questionable behavior that they have committed, for example, and how to improve their global reputation. But I think every sports or football fan in this case is excited by this takeover simply because it brings the kind of value and high level of imagination that you would want to see happening in a football club like Newcastle. I think, and you must understand as well, it's actually a smart move that this is happening to Newcastle. You're talking about a total rejection by their fans towards their present owner, Mike Ashley. So you have a quote-unquote problematic potential owner wanting to buy the club and, bringing in a lot of money to improve, the club in terms of, players and facilities and whatnot, giving it the financial prowess to actually compete and, make the club reputable again. I think this is a very fantastic formula. You're actually looking into wanting to, do some image building exercise abroad and investing into a club where, are hungry or eager to see their current owner out and somebody else coming in. So it's a formula that is uniquely or amazingly, strangely working, if the Saudis were to take over. So, like I said, as I've said, this is actually perfect, for football, at least for Newcastle, that this is happening for them.
Right. So we're enough with the serious part. Assuming the takeover is completed, so let's look at the fun part right now. I mean, I'm sure as a Newcastle fan going to your head, with that kind of money available, I mean, you will be thinking this and that, whatever names that come out. I mean, who is one particular player you would expect them to sign?
One player, okay. Gosh, I mean, right now, I mean, if you say one player that I want, whether it's possible or not, it's not possible. But I mean, I like Erling Haaland a lot because I think this is yeah. I mean, to be honest, this is the player that Newcastle needs at the moment. You see, when you sign a player, you think about there are two things here that you want to address first. Number one, you do that statement of intent. When you take over a club and you want to make a statement that I'm back with the big boys. I'm joining the big boys. Manchester City did it with, I think it was Robinho, if I remember correctly. That was a Brazilian striker that they signed from Real Madrid for a big amount. So I would imagine Newcastle will probably be doing the same. And when you look at the department that they need help with, it's quite agreed that everybody is talking about them having to improve on their attacking side. So they need one more guy to complement the system, the current system that is Jolinton, Saint Maximin, and Almiron. So they need a good striker to complement the three. And I would want Erling Haaland, although I don't see how it can possibly happen. Mm-hmm. But any striker from Bundesliga, even Timo Werner, if he wants out this summer, I think it's a good target for Newcastle to be investing in.
Well, Alwin, I know when he mentioned Haaland, you have to say something, right?
We had a few episodes where every time I every time go like, oh, Haaland scores again, right? It's like every episode Haaland is scoring until I think the last one he stopped scoring. So I'm not sure commentator curse. Not sure whether that just happened, but let's see anyway. Okay, so your dream player would be Haaland, right?
Dream player, yeah. And possible or not, well, maybe not this season, but hopefully, in 1 or 2 years, when he's.
I think breaking the bank will not be a problem anymore if this move happens.
Yeah.
I mean, any particular name for you, Elvin and Bola? I mean, anyone you have in mind that you want to see one day come out, in a Newcastle uniform?
For me, I feel, I think rather than uniform, I'll go into manager. I think Allegri usually lucky with the Stripes Club. I think he started, the AC Milan, red and black stripe. He won, I think it's Syria. I think that's the last club actually won before Juventus for the ninth row season. And of course, Juventus, black and white stripe. I think maybe he might have a similar luck with Newcastle as well. So I'm looking. Maybe I think he's the right person to bring Newcastle to greater heights, knowing that he can manage with the limited budget. and also with unlimited budget when managing like Cristiano Ronaldo types of quality players. So I think it's for me, it's Allegri. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward for it to give a tough time to Guardiola actually, or even Jurgen Klopp.
Okay. What
Okay.
about you, Alvin?
Okay.
Any name you want to see in the Newcastle uniform?
Okay, I would certainly like to see Paul Pogba playing there. Basically, I would like MU to sell him. I would like MU to sell him, sell him to Newcastle. Okay, so it's like maybe one problem less for MU, but I would just, I think Paul Pogba would do fine in Newcastle as well. You know, going back to another black and white uniform again. So I don't know. Let's see.
Okay. I mean, if I had to pick one player, of course, I don't think it's possible, but I hope that Newcastle can probably make this statement. You know, can he play against Stoke City on a cold Tuesday English night? You know which name I'm talking about, right? Lionel Messi. With that money, anything's possible. But you know, I don't think he wants to leave Barcelona at this stage. But that's my fantasy.
Right. You know, any club that is associated with Qatar, I think will have a problem with Newcastle. You know, because the two governments, they're not, they're having issues. I mean, if you follow the politics in the Middle East, there was a blockade. I think there's still a blockade going on between. There's a sort of a block, you know, the block of countries that are with Qatar and the block of countries that are with Saudi Arabia. So I would foresee that any attempt to sign any players from football clubs associated with Qatar, in this case, you know, PSG or even Barcelona, might pose some problems for Newcastle. But you never know.
Yeah. Okay, but lastly, you know, where do you foresee Newcastle in the next 5 years? I mean, do you think Premier League title would be wrapped by then?
Okay, I think the next 5 years, I think anything can happen. You know, it depends on how you sort of lay the foundations of things upon your takeover. Like I said, you, depending on the type of football or brand of football that you would like to bring or play, you decide on the coach first. You know, and I think that coach would determine where you will be in the next 2 to 3 years. You know, 3 to 5 years or so. You know. Once they put their house in order, I think you can see them. You know, I think the most important thing that they need to do now is actually, for a lot of people, is placing some of their top performers in the team now on long-term contracts. You know, if you want to talk about that 5-year achieving something, then you need to to secure the contracts of, I think they were talking about Lascelles, you know, some of the defenders. The current goalkeeper, you know, the Braca, is actually one of the best shot stoppers in the Premier League, just that he doesn't have a solid defensive line. So there are many ways that you can decide to do with the amount of money that you have now. That is one option. The other is, of course, the total overhauling of the squad, you know, an investment from top to bottom, you know, in terms of positions and players. But otherwise, I think you could just you should really look into the coach first, and then he will set the agenda. I mean, he will set the course for the next couple of years for the team. I think that's the most important thing that you need to do now.
Okay. With that said, we will wrap up this segment and we will be going for the ending part of this podcast.
Okay, and we are back again. So Marco, now being a Toon Army Malaysian fan, a Newcastle fan here based in Malaysia, or let's say Malaysia, Southeast Asia region and all that, what like words or advice or predictions that you would like to say, like this current possible takeover would impact, or what do you think? Will it be an outburst of new fans jumping on the bandwagon, commercial value increase? You know, I mean, come on, what's going to happen in this region now as a Malaysian Newcastle fan? Yeah.
Well, I think the the first obvious thing that you'll be seeing a lot more in the coming. I mean, depending on what happens, the first obvious thing that you'll be seeing a lot more would be a lot of black and white jerseys having the emblem Newcastle being worn on Saturdays and Sundays at shopping malls.
Yeah, definitely.
You'll be seeing a lot of people wearing that as opposed to the red of Manchester or Liverpool. So I think that'll be the first thing, the first effect of what this means here. I mean, number one, you will see a flourishing number of Newcastle supporters. I mean, that said, I mean, there is a Toon Army in Malaysia which are good people. It's quite a sizable number. I wouldn't say they are massive, but they are there. They are online. They are always online. They are always meeting on match days. You see, how I also see this might affect the situation in this region is at least. I mean, I don't know whether they have a strong correlation or not. But the primetime games being shown in this region has always been dominated by the bigger teams. And Newcastle would always be given the 12:30 a.m. slot on a Sunday or early Monday morning, which makes it impossible for you to either watch or gather with your friends, unless you don't have a day job or you're not working the next day, So I think one of the impact would be if they were serious about, making better approachment with fans in this region would be to show them at a time that is more. You can imagine better players. I mean, I'm just assuming they are more exciting squad by then, and a lot more people would want to watch them. And to be fair, they have to be shown at 8:30 prime time here. I mean, depending, of course, on what time it is in Saudi, also, because I think the number one consideration would be the time in Jeddah or in Saudi Arabia. What is their prime time? Or what time do people watch football there? So all Newcastle games would be adjusted accordingly to the time in Riyadh or Jeddah or whatever it is in Saudi that people are watching. So yeah, I think commercially you have a lot of potential here as well. Definitely more jerseys be sold. I think it's good. It's within our region. I think we have more jerseys being sold, more fan club. There was something funny I saw on social media the other day. Bern of Astro Arena was sharing something on his Instagram. It was a form of new applicants to become a Newcastle supporter.
Okay.
So among the questions that you have to answer was name the previous club that you are supporting, number one, and number two, reason why you decide to support Newcastle. So I mean, these are the things that the Newcastle fans in Malaysia are sharing among themselves, which I thought was hilarious. So it's good. Like I said, I mean, this is expected. And by the time there's a next takeover, then at what knows whichever club, Brighton gets taken over by a wealthy owner. Everybody wants to support Brighton. I think that's a given. That's expected anyway.
Yeah, and I think it'll also be a dilemma for the old Newcastle United fans who been supporting since the olden days, but people were, oh, you Newcastle fan, that means in my impression, like you just started supporting them lah.
Yeah.
It's the same problem I went through as a Huddersfield Town fan. I've been supporting them when they were in League One, but everybody assumes because they got promoted to the Premier League, that's where I became a fan. Yeah, I suppose that's going to happen.
I think you're the most admirable guy in Malaysia. I don't know how many fans in Malaysia that actually follow Huddersfield football.
I'm still a lone ranger. I've been trying to figure out is there anybody out there, calling out, but nobody seems to respond.
I've actually been there, but it's I like the town, but it never came to me that they are a football. That this was way before they became they were in the Premier League. They were still small time at the time. So I think the sense that I got at the time when I was there was that they're not exactly a football city. To be fair, that was what I felt. I don't know, because people were not talking about them so much. Maybe because they were not up there with the big boys. Playing against the big boys. Maybe that was the reason to it.
Yep. Okay. So, Elvin, any last opinion? Any last thoughts?
In fact, I think before we wrap this up, I think we need to just like probably pay tribute to two Newcastle, I would say great legends, Pavel Srinicek, right? The late Pavel Srinicek, and also of course Sir Bobby Robson as well. So Marco, you want any words for these two guys? You have anything to say?
Yeah. As for Srinicek, I think he was, definitely one of the best goalkeepers that Newcastle has ever seen. One of the best performers. You're talking about a time when they were languishing in the early 90s. He was there when O.C. Adilas. I can't remember. It was either when O.C. Adilas was there. He was there, but definitely in Keegan's Newcastle when they were small timers. He was there.
Yep.
This was. Definitely the guy who stuck with the team when they were, in the lower leagues playing, lower level football. He was there, stayed on, until he will always be remembered as one of the fine goalkeepers. You must understand, I think Srinicek and goalkeepers at Newcastle is. They are a club blessed with having to see so many goalkeepers shine at the club. You're talking about the likes of Shaka Hislop competing with him for the spot. In the years after there was Shea Given, also a great goalkeeper. Tim Kroll, was at Newcastle also. Tim Kroll, and today, Debraka. So I think it's sort of it's one of the positions for a club like Newcastle, based on what was said by Srinicek and his predecessors, that goalkeepers are, is a very crucial position for a club like Newcastle. It's one of those that that people will remember, fans will remember, and people will appreciate. As for Sir Bobby, I think it's if you read what his assistant. Had to say about his last assistant at Newcastle had to say about his time at Newcastle in the years that he became ill with cancer and then passed away. I think this is a man who was a very compassionate person. His assistant was, the team that he had in his dressing room were very blessed to have worked with him. I think a lot of them were, not to say they were in the youth or anything, but they were still in their early stages of coaching, and to be able to, to work alongside the man, being guided by him, to be handpicked, to be his assistant. Some of them they were saying they were doing jobs that Robson assigned and that they were not accustomed to, like they were sent to do scouting for opposition teams, things that they were not used to doing. But at the end of the day, it was actually what Robson was trying to do to help them to become better assistant managers, and they were able to achieve so. So this was the genius, I would say, and brilliance of what Sir Bobby was able to not just to his players, but also to his staff members. So again, I think he will forever be remembered by everybody. And you must understand, this is a guy who supported the club as a fan.
Yeah,
it was his boyhood club, and he sort of accomplished his dream when he took over it. When he took over the club.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right.
So with that, we will wrap up the show. And of course, Marco, any last words?
Let's all watch what happens in the following days. I hope we'll get some news within this month. I think everyone's excited to see this happen, irrespective of whatever debate that goes on about it. I think I think everyone wants to see a different Newcastle at the end of the takeover if it happens.
Okay. So Elvin?
Yeah, I will just relay what Marco is saying also. We should just wait and see what happens, and maybe more prime time Newcastle games coming soon, right? And what about you, Bala?
I think similarly what Marco and Elvin said, let's look for exciting times. Good luck for Newcastle once again. I think it's been a long years. I think your fans have been suffered. Hopefully, better luck in the red and black and white again, as how the Italian fans having in the Serie A.
Okay. Okay, with that said and done, we would like to take this opportunity to thank you, Marco, for being with us.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you, Marco. Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me. It feels like a walk down memory lane. Talking about classic '90s football with you guys. And I've not done this in a long time. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How about you, Elvin?
Yeah, so yeah, thank you again, Marco, for coming and for your time as well, allocating your time, and also like to, on behalf of Bola Bola show here, we also like to thank all the frontliners who are out there also as well, battling this current situation that all of us are facing. This COVID-19 situation, and as a football fan, we are all still stuck at home here. Waiting one day maybe to be able to go out, but let's see, what will be the new norm be in football as a fan or as a player. We shall all find out soon. Yeah.
Okay. Bola?
Similarly, thanks Marco once again for being part of our family. And
thanks.
also, hopefully we hear more from you after this. Maybe we can meet up after this, after the MCO. Especially.
We should. I forgot to say. Yeah. This has to continue somewhere.
Yes, correct. So, and also thanks for all our frontliners. And hope the situation come back better. And selamat berpuasa to all our Muslim fans again.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Selamat berpuasa, everyone. And with that, we'll wrap up the show. Of course, Marco, we have this sort of like ending chant, which is basically you'll say modular bola bola. Then, untuk negara, you just scream as loud as you want. Okay?
What is it? Majulah bola bola?
Yeah, modular bola
Bola untuk negara.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Majulah
bola bola untuk negara.
All right, thank you.